Welcome to the X Global News Channel. In the occupied part of the Zaporizhzhia region, where Russian officials announced the APU offensive at the end of August, the Russian armed forces began to retreat without the influence of the enemy. Since the beginning of December, units of the army and Regardi, according to sources from both sides, have left positions in engineering and several other villages near the canopies. They are preparing to retreat from Pologov, Chapivka, Novomikhalovka. The headquarters of the group recognize the impossibility of holding a long and unprepared line of contact for defense. The idea of building fortifications that will cover the occupied part of the Zaporizhzhia region from the north was also abandoned. Too long and futile. The General Staff, according to a source from there, demands that in the event of a Ukrainian offensive, the coast of the Sea of Azov, Berdyansk and the land route from the DPR to the Crimea, as well as the approaches to the Crimea, be held. Therefore, a new line of defense is being built even south of Melitopol, which the headquarters gave up on. In the event of a large offensive by the Ukrainian armed forces from Zaporizhzhia, they will not hold Melitopol. Fortifications are also being prepared to the west of Melitopol, in case of a Ukrainian offensive from Kherson. Zaporizhzhia is the most inconvenient direction for defense. Almost nothing has been done there since the beginning of the war. The defense is nominal. There are a lot of Regardi, few trained troops, little equipment. The priorities were first Kherson and Mariupol, then Kherson and Ugledar. Columns were driven back and forth through Zaporizhzhia, but they were not engaged in Zaporizhzhia itself, says a source in the General Staff of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation. In his opinion, as soon as the frosty weather sets in, the APU will have the opportunity to launch an offensive that has been preparing for a long time, and the most reasonable thing for the Russian armed forces will be to withdraw to Crimea and Mariupol. If possible, it is necessary to ensure that the defense in the north of the region lasts at least 3 to 5 days. Not on the contact line, but in the area of the nodal points, Tokmak, Vasilevka. Then it will be possible to take all the units that are now in the Kherson region to Armyansk and Genichesk. But, as I know, they are going to leave Vasilevka too, out of fear of the Ukrainian landing in the area of Energodar. Energodar is also ready for evacuation. All heavy units were withdrawn from there. Chechens, Rosgvards and a half-strength motorized rifle brigade remained, the officer of the General Staff of the Russian Federation believes. Up to a third of the troops that remained there were withdrawn from the left bank of the Kherson region. They have been withdrawn to the new line of defense west of Melitopol and to positions north of Armyansk. The removal of warehouses and equipment continues. However, the commander of the group decided to prevent the possible rapid crossing of the Dnieper by the APU. A small Russian landing force landed on Potemkin Island at the mouth of the Dnieper 3 days ago. His task is to disrupt the supply of Ukrainian units on the bridgeheads on the left bank. These bridgeheads are small and the APU is in no hurry to expand them. The operation on Potemkin Island, according to Russian officers, has so far led to the destruction of several small transport vessels of the Ukrainian army and to a powerful artillery shelling of the island itself and losses among the landing. The tasks of the landing also included assistance in the evacuation of several hundred Russian servicemen who remained on the right bank after the retreat of the main forces from Kherson. The island is located very close to the area of Kherson, shipbuilder, where Russian soldiers remained. According to Ukrainian officers, with whom the Russians agree, there are still 300 to 600 Russians on the right bank. There were about 1,000 by November 15, now there are 300 left in the industrial zone and some more are running around the villages, maybe as many more, says a source in the AFU. We have no information whether any of the Russian soldiers managed to move to Potemkin Island. The Russian armed forces withdrew most of the artillery from the left bank to Skadovsk. And with what is left, Kherson is being shelled, using Iranian drones for this as well. There were no active hostilities in the Kherson region and in Zaporizhzhia, everything was limited to artillery duels, shelling of warehouses. The AFU covered warehouses and the command post of the armed forces of the Russian Federation in Berdyansk. According to information from the Russian military, Supply officers from the headquarters of the Russian armed forces in Ukraine were killed during the shelling. We are here with the attitude that we are a dog's tail, which is chopped in 5 steps. We have lost the region, but still our commanders cannot admit it. There are no resources to go forward. We are sitting like ducks, waiting for the gifts from the right bank to arrive, says a Russian officer in the Kherson region. The construction of fortifications near Armyansk and Genichesk continues near the Crimea. The General Staff and Surovikin expect that they will allow the APU to be stopped on the approaches to the peninsula. At the same time, hospitals in Dzhankoy and Armyansk are partially evacuated, and warehouses are moved to the south so as not to fall under Ukrainian shelling. Fortifications at Armyansk and Genichesk, according to officers stationed in these areas, are being built faster than the line under construction west of Melitopol. The command of the group and the general staff are seriously afraid of a rapid breakthrough of the AFU to the peninsula. Army units are accumulating south of Armyansk and in the Dzhankoy area, which will occupy the fortifications as soon as they are ready. Let's move on to international news. The IAEA staff will work at all Ukrainian nuclear power plants, the agency said. They added that they would ensure the constant presence of their specialists. The agency's CEO Rafael Grossi held a meeting with the Prime Minister of Ukraine Denis Shmyhal in Paris. During the 2-hour talks, they agreed that the agency would establish a permanent presence of nuclear safety experts at all nuclear power plants in the country. Hungary called for Ukraine's early accession to the EU. Advisor to the Prime Minister of the country Balázs Orbán said that his country stands for Ukraine to become a member of the European Union, Bloomberg reports. He stressed that the authorities hope that this will happen as soon as possible, and that EU member states need to put pressure on the European Commission to speed up this process. At the same time, the advisor indicated that Budapest does not intend to abandon relations with the Russian Federation and separate from each other. Orbán noted that Hungary's position is based on the idea of maintaining ties. Erdogan, Turkey plans to become a global gas pricing center. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said at the commissioning ceremony of the new Silivri underground gas storage facilities in the Istanbul area that his country plans to become a global gas pricing center as soon as possible. This is reported by TASS. We held talks with Putin on the creation of a gas hub on Turkish territory. Thrace will become an energy center. Our goal is to turn Turkey into a global gas pricing center as soon as possible, he said. In October, Putin proposed to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to create a gas hub for supplies to Europe. On December 4, the Turkish leader stated that Ankara was conducting preparatory work on the project. News from Bloomberg: Serbia is going to reduce dependence on Russian gas. The Minister of Mining and Energy of Serbia Dubravka Niger said that the country intends to reduce dependence on gas from Russia by diversifying the supply of natural gas. Our resources are insufficient, at least when it comes to gas, she said in an interview with Bloomberg. But everything is important for us that will reduce dependence on the Russian Federation in the gas segment. The minister noted that we are talking about spending hundreds of millions of euros on projects for the delivery of fuel from countries such as, for example, Azerbaijan. In addition, she is referring to the connection project with terminals in Greece. The U.S. State Department said they did not want to block the entire financial system of Russia. The United States does not intend to block the entire financial system of Russia with sanctions and wants to minimize the damage they cause to the world market, the coordinator for the sanctions policy of the State Department, James O'Brien, stressed at a briefing. We are carefully studying each list of banks in an effort to avoid or mitigate the damage that may occur if the bank is unable to perform its operations. Thus, we see this as a gradual process, and not as one merciless attempt to block the entire Russian financial system at once, the diplomat stressed. We have come to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Put a like to support us. Write your opinion in the comments. Subscribe to the channel to keep following the new news. See you.